If you'll give me just 1 second, I'm going to do the very millennial thing, take a selfie here with all of you.
Can we get a copy for Facebook?
Oh, you certainly can. I'm a very big fan of putting my face wherever it can be seen. So if you could all just smile a little bit, that'd be great.
Keep it there, Aaron.
And thank you. So I wasn't sure how to start this when I was first asked by Catherine, whether I should just give an overview of WBTN or what it is that you all know about it to begin with. So first I'm gonna take a little time, introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name's Aaron Sawyer. I grew up in Hoosick Falls, New York, and I graduated from Hoosick Falls Central School in 2002. Afterward, I joined the United States Navy. I spent 4 years being trained by some of the best in their fields and working with some of the most dedicated men and women of this country. And it seems appropriate to take a second today to thank them for their friendship, tutelage, and service over these years. After leaving the Navy at 22, I spent some time living in Boston and generally enjoying a misbegotten youth. I moved back to the Bennington area in 2009, where I took a position with the Bennington School Incorporated as a daytime counselor and teacher's aide. The school fell on some hard times and was forced to go through some layoffs. Unused to being without a job, I took the first one I could get at Dunkin' Donuts. I loved coffee, so it worked out really well for me. It was about that time, in about 2012, I want to say, that Spencer Sweet, the new executive director at that time for WBTN, came through my line, and he had the decals on the side of his truck. I decided in that moment to take a second and pitch myself as an aspiring radio employee with the phrase, I believe, "Are you guys hiring or looking for volunteers? Because I've been told I have a voice for radio." I was told they weren't hiring, but they're always looking for volunteers, something I'm going to ask all of you to do at some point too. I came in the next week, and the position had actually just opened up, and it worked out well for me. I became the new audio engineer at WBTN, and it worked well with the skill set that I had been given in the Navy. I'd been trained as an electronics technician. I went in thinking that first day, much the same thought I had on the way up here: what am I doing? I am in no way qualified to do this. But the staff, the volunteer show hosts, some of which are sitting here with us today, gave me all the answers I wanted and all the help I sought until I became proficient at the job. You'll have to forgive me if I seem a bit nervous. I don't really do public speaking. In fact, the only time that comes to mind was when I ran for high school class president, and I believe my speech consisted of, "You should vote for Ashley." Needless to say, I really didn't win that one. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all about WBTN, and hopefully after today, we have the same renewed passion and interest that I gained for it when I joined the team 3 years ago. I want to thank you all for the support you've given to the station, especially with the new recording equipment. We will have it up next week. Hopefully, we can train a few of you on it. What we do at the station is in large part helped by the continuous flow of volunteer show hosts, and for that, we're very grateful. There was a time in the past when most radio in the country was live and local. Each station in its individual market shaping its specific communities, most of which had an emphasis on local news and local sports. WBTN is still that station. In 1951, Catamount Broadcasters Incorporated began organizing what would later be called WBTN. It began broadcasting from the soggy bottom of Harwood Hill. WBTN was created by James Gordon Keyworth and some local business owners, Keyworth being the only one of whom who had any radio experience to speak of. On August 1st, 1953, the group borrowed $9,000 from the First National Bank of Bennington, which is now the Fiddlehead at Four Corners, to buy the land at the foot of Harwood Hill from Richard Hall and his wife. The Hall family has been instrumental in the success of WBTN and continues to be so, with Joe Hall hosting a daily segment on Bennington history entitled Bygone Bennington, and he's our newly elected chairman of our board. In 1954, the group borrowed an additional $14,000 to build the station itself and a 500-watt AM tower. The long story and a shorter version is that WBTN was launched as a local station for Bennington and the region. And despite many changes in radio itself and the communities it serves, continues to do so. Two important changes occurred in 1960 when the FCC allowed WBTN to extend its power to 1,000 watts where it sits today, and Keyworth's wife, Belva, gained control of the station, having received Keyworth stock and buying out the rest of the initial investors at $175 a share, and keeping control of the station until 1996. It's at this time and in this period that most people think of Bob Harrington and his name as being synonymous with WBTN, and it probably always will be. In 1997, it became clear that the station was in dire financial straits. Added to that fact that Belva, who had been operating the station for close to 45 years at that point, was no longer able to take an active role in operating the station, WBTN was sold to VPR. After conclusion of the sale, VPR had made it clear it had no interest in operating a local AM station, though they were very interested in keeping the FM signal itself. It was at this time that the WBTN AM 1370 signal, along with the tower and building, were sold to Robert Howe of North Bennington. His vision was to keep it as the same local voice that it had been during the years that Belva Keyworth owned the station. Shortly thereafter, Bob and his wife Cora, who, a funny anecdote actually, I had a chance to speak with her during our pledge-a-thon that we had a few months ago. And I believe when I asked her how she felt when Bob bought the station, her response was, "I should have let him get the dog." Bob and his wife Cora donated the station to Southern Vermont College here in Bennington as a learning facility. Fast forward a few years, and the college could no longer handle running the station, and it was put up for sale again. I'll bet you guys can guess who bought it a second time. Bob and Cora May made the decision that they would continue the station. In 2008, a group known as the Shire's Media Partnership became the parent company of WBTN, and that's also when WBTN changed from a commercial entity to a nonprofit radio station. The Shire's Media Partnership, a 501c3 owner of WBTN AM 1370, sees WBTN as the unique voice of the Bennington, Vermont region. The station's programming and emphasis are to serve the community by being a channel for local voices to inform, educate, and entertain our listener community, both on the air and over the internet. WBTN provides live, local, immediate, and relevant news and programming to our community. It collaborates with community members to develop and broadcast locally produced content. It acts as a platform for organizations and community-wide agencies to take their message to the public. WBTN has held to that mission statement since the beginning. In radio now, there are commercial stations, public radio, and beyond that is what we at WBTN call community radio. With modern amenities like Pandora, Spotify, and the iHeartRadio app, and the majority of music being played on an individual's iPod or other devices, WBTN is set apart by the simple fact that it is local programming by local voices. Where other stations have become more homogenized with the advent of corporate radio stations being allowed to purchase as many stations as they like, having a community radio station sets Bennington apart from the others. The station serves an area ranging from Troy to Cambridge and Manchester to North Adams. We're made up of a paid staff of 3 full-time employees with over 30 volunteer shows and show hosts, discussing a range of topics including local theater to local agriculture, and a very dedicated board of directors. The station has been honored a few times in the past, both by the House of Representatives and by the Vermont Association of Broadcasters. The House extended an honor with R-376, in which the station was thanked for tireless service during Tropical Storm Irene. During the 2 days of heavy rain and flooding, the station kept itself running to ensure that the community was informed about what was going on and how to stay safe. It was open to community leaders such as Chief Doucette and Town Manager Stu Hurd, so that throughout the emergency, WBTN was able to provide listeners with the most immediate status of road closings, evacuations, power outages, and other pertinent facts. And the VAB has awarded our sales director, Ted Hollow, twice in the past 3 years for commercial spots, both best produced and most creative. WBTN plays an integral part in helping other local charities and groups. The Epilepsy Foundation of Vermont holds its annual radio auction on WBTN and has for the past 25 years. Their executive director, Audrey Butler, spoke with me for a few minutes and told us how invaluable WBTN's service to their cause has been. This past year alone, we raised over $3,000 to help children in Vermont with an epileptic condition and to go towards education on epilepsy itself. The American Lung Association also recruits help from WBTN to broadcast their stair climb and get the word out about lung health. We team up with the Bennington cinemas as well to give away a free movie every month. The cinema's owners felt that working with the radio station to give away a free movie was a way for both businesses to be able to give back to the community, and to also give a chance for some of Bennington's families to have access to basic entertainment where they may not have been able to afford it in the past. This month's movie, which will be the 24th in the free movie series of events, is Minions. So for those of you who may be interested or have children who may be interested, call the station and we'll get you on the guest list. While on that note, we also team up with the cinemas and a few other area businesses every December to give away the entire theater, meaning the Bennington Cinemas opens up every house and we give away 750 seats for those who may want to see Polar Express as a family before the holidays. We sponsor a series of interviews on our program, News and Views, hosted by Robert Ebert, featuring those running for select board from different towns that WBTN provides service to. On a couple of occasions, we've actually received calls from listeners who've told us that the ability to have these discussions with candidates and to hear their individual views helped to shape their voting mind or changed it completely. This past year, we opened the studio to differing sides on the fluoride debate. Each side was given its chance to explain its platform and answer questions from our host and the public. The series this past year culminated in 2 separate CAT TV WBTN simulcasts from the Bennington Firehouse. Station's also heavily involved in town activities, from Mayfest to Garlic Fest. We do over 20 remote broadcasts throughout the course of the year. We're always busy trying to promote downtown Bennington, the importance of buying local, and act as a platform for other organizations to provide themselves with promotion and advertising for their events. In fact, there isn't a month out of the year that we can't be found somewhere around town, helping out with sound if that's what's needed, or adding a voice in broadcasting the event. A few other events we've taken place in this past year and plan to take place in the coming year: Fallapalooza, the Bowl for Kids' Sake, the Big E Sportsman Show, and Stuff the Bus. We also do remotes for our business sponsors in the area, including Kevin's Sports Pub and Brookdale Fillmore Pond. We cover local news both in the morning and at noon. The morning show hosted by Dave Lively, and the noon news is incredibly well co-hosted by Jason Bolgis. We keep the community informed regarding local issues and offer a place for opposing viewpoints on local issues. We broadcast EAS warnings regarding extreme weather and Amber Alerts for missing or abducted children. We're broadcast now both on the conventional radio dial and on the internet. And of course, if you've got one of those fancy schmancy smartphones, you can download the TuneIn Radio app and take us with you wherever you go. We provide accurate and complete school closings for the entire area and are involved in the community at large. We support the arts with arts-based programming and an on-air arts magazine broadcast every Sunday at 9 a.m. in the midst of our newest show, The Listening Shires. We utilize social media to keep you abreast with what's happening and are endeavoring to make it even more interactive in the future. And we take listener call-ins for our Town Crier segments to spotlight things that are happening around town, from exhibits at the museum to the next pancake breakfast. Started in the past couple of years, we've also added a holiday special in connection with Old Castle Theater. And if you're not aware yet, they're holding cabaret in the next few weeks. And you might want to grab tickets fast because from what I hear, they're filling up. Of course, you could always listen to Dave Lively in the morning and try to win a pair as well. This past March, WBTN was faced with the fact that an immediate influx of funds was needed to sustain the station. The staff, with the backing of the board of directors, launched a 2-week pledge-a-thon, the first of its kind for our station. From March 30th to April 10th, on-air hosts talked with the public and each other about what it is that WBTN does, where we stand, what we do for the community, and what it is we needed from the listening public. We had initially set our goal at $7,500, and we're incredibly pleased when at the end of the 2 weeks, we had received over $11,000 in donations and pledges. Wow. We plan to hold another pledge drive this fall, and here's hoping it's as successful as the last. I want to take a minute to talk about how all of you could help WBTN, because what would a nonprofit be if it wasn't taking advantage of every opportunity it can to dial up some support? Of course, we're never turning down monetary donations. It costs just short of $160,000 a year to run the station efficiently at this point, which breaks down to roughly $466 a day. As a nonprofit, we've turned to the community with what we can hope on as just below 50% of that cost. The cost of WBTN would be astronomical if it weren't for the fact that we can count on volunteer show hosts for the majority of our content. So again, thank you to them. So perhaps you have an interest in hosting a show. I see a few of you here who have, Kathy, Sally. Or perhaps you're handy with a tool, because we can always help or need help with repairs around the building. Finally, we're starting a new process of offering tours to everyone who'd like one. During these tours, you'll be shown the station, what it looked like, what it looks like now, and where we're going. You'll be greeted by our station manager, Spencer Sweet, and a member of our board, who will give you a brief overview of the station and what it is you can do to help. So please, take the opportunity, come down, and see what we're all about. And remember to drink your milk today.
Do you have any of the old LPs left?
We have so many LPs left. Would you like to come through and take a look?
Please don't tell Millie I asked this question.
I'm not sure that I know Millie well enough to
You will meet her in a little while.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How many listeners do you actually have, and how do you determine that?
WBTN is too small to be rated by Arbitron itself, the normal rating system. We're out of the Albany market. We service an area that potentially we could reach up to 100,000 people. We assume a 2 share of that, so that breaks down to anywhere from 2,000 to maybe 3,000 people weekly listening.
I know you can't kind of hear you up in Manchester, but so you're, so where could someone drive, for instance, and hear about it?
As soon as you get past the Sunderland area in that direction, it's weird because in Williamstown it's harder than it is in North Adams, but I think that has something to do with the mountain range being so close.
I know my daughter can hear it in Troy,
That's true.
but I can't get it in Hoosick Falls, so I listen to it online.
One of the shows we broadcast that's produced elsewhere is called Under the Hood. Normally for these types of shows you have to sign some sort of agreement saying you've aired the show and all of their commercials. They've actually told us not to bother anymore because the majority of their call-ins come from the Troy area, and the only way anybody in Troy could hear that show is through WBTN.
Oh, very nice. Any other questions? Yes, Jerry.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Other than salaries, what's the biggest expense that the station has?
Electricity. So if you know anybody who's great with solar power, maybe we should talk with them.
Sally?
Well, I just want to say, as a co-host, I want to say thank you to Aaron because he's always there to help you with any kind of problem. And so I think this is part of what makes being a host on the radio so successful because of the work Aaron does.
Thank you.
I would like to second that. I've been there about 5 years if you've been there 4, and it changed so much when Spencer came and then he brought Aaron in. It's fabulous. It's so much fun to work there. So much fun. I look forward to it like I do Rotary.
Does the motion pass? It's been
I will say, to share with everyone, if you go online, you'll see the hosts that they're seeking for several shows that they have ideas about. And I think one of the ones that has been up there a long time but could be coordinated with the high school is someone to do remote broadcasting of athletic events.
We are actually looking to do that this fall. I didn't want to touch on it until we were sure of it, but we've got hosts, and
Oh, good.
we at one point had decided to stop our contract with the Red Sox. It was one of our most popular things to have,
Till this year.
but it was also one of the most expensive things to carry. So instead we decided, what would a local community station be if it wasn't covering local sports in the area?
Other questions?
Do you have any feel for the time of day that the listeners are more tuned into?
6A to 6P. Normally after 6 p.m., most people have eaten dinner and are sitting in front of their televisions. The driving times are most likely to have listeners between 4 and 6 p.m., 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., and the noon to 1 o'clock hour.
Just a comment, I've been on the radio station for the Rotary half hour, and for any of you who have not been on and have any hesitancy about going on the radio, I gotta say that Dave Lively and Joe Hall's usually there, Michael Harrington is usually there. It's the easiest half hour anybody's ever done, really, because it's more like back and forth question and answer session, and there's really nothing intimidating. So that was my comment there. The other comment I have is Ted Bird, okay? There's CDs, there's MP3s, LPs.
Yeah.
You're a relic.
You should see my apartment.
Michael's coming back.
It's coming back.
Anyway, thank you, Aaron, for, oh, I'm sorry.
I
Go
think
ahead, Rick.
when you were talking about what you need is hosts and donations, don't you need more advertisers?
We do definitely need more advertisers. I'm not,
And they're not called advertisers.
we
they're
call them
called
sponsorships because we're a
That's very
nonprofit.
clean,
Yeah.
Because
Thank
that's,
you.
yeah, because I know back in the day before you had Ted Hollow, I mean, Mary and I were hitting the streets. We had paid employees and we sold a lot of those advertising and or sponsors. But one of the things that, rather than just a flat out donation, you can advertise and you're actually getting PR in addition to that, and you feel good that you're donating to your local station.
Yes, thank you very much.
At Kevin's and giving, even though I do know the best time of the day is when I give away one of my gifts to you guys.
It
I
is.
do know everybody's listening for that. So from a marketing point of view, if you're looking to get your word out, you just gotta find the right time and the right place, and you're getting two bangs for your buck. You're getting marketing and you're helping your local station.
Thank you.
Aaron, what kind of programming are you looking to do that you're not doing now?
Well, we're covering local sports now. Something else we're looking for is a comedy show of some sort. So if you think you're really funny,
Jerry Albert? Jerry?
we would love that. And we're actually looking for someone to record shows with veterans from the veterans' home. We felt it was important to get their stories out as well.
That's a great idea.
That's a wonderful idea.
Just a comment. People are listening when, not that it's my program, but I know they're listening in the morning because I get calls.
That is true. That's because you rile people up.
That's true too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'm signing off now. Talk to you later.
And you send